Will WWE make budget cuts and releases once the merger with the UFC is confirmed under the Endeavor umbrella? One former WWE superstar certainly thinks so. We've got details on that. Plus, the reason why Stone Cold Steve Austin did not wrestle at this year's WrestleMania event has been revealed by none other than the Texas Rattlesnake himself. Details on what he's been saying, plus some interesting audience patterns for both Monday Night Raw and NXT on the USA Network as well. An update on Bobby Roode as he recovers from his injury. An update on the plans for Von Wagner in NXT. Trish Stratus reacts after it was revealed that Roman Reigns had a cardboard cutout of her when he was younger. And how does the new Twitch relationship affect WWE wrestlers? Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking, unfortunately, about budget cuts, releases, all part of this Endeavor acquisition of WWE, the subsequent merging of World Wrestling Entertainment with the UFC. And one former WWE star and independent wrestling legend has a bleak outlook on the future for some of the current stars of the WWE roster. With the sale of WWE to Endeavor and plans to merge with another massive combat sports giant UFC to create a new entertainment entity, there has already been discussion of possible budget cuts. They were a staple under the previous Vince McMahon regime. They kind of went away under Paul Triple H Levesque, but now that Triple H is no longer fully in control, Vince McMahon is back as executive chairman, and in addition to that, the acquisition of WWE by Endeavor, the merger with UFC, people are expecting that budget cuts could return, with WWE CEO Nick Khan stating that the company would be looking to get lean and mean as the transition occurs, speculating look to cut around $50 million. One former WWE star has his thoughts on the potential impact. Appearing on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, John Morrison said, quote, "I think there's a hiring freeze right now. I think they're going to end up letting a bunch of guys go. I think salaries are going to get cut. I'm really glad AEW is around to balance that out a little bit, because if they weren't, there would be no leverage and nowhere else to go, and WWE and UFC would be this weird monopoly that just wrings the money out of the livelihood of the fighters and wrestlers, and I always think that sucks." Morrison has some working knowledge of the benefits of the AEW roster, not only having made an appearance with the promotion, but also his wife Taya Valkyrie has recently made her All Elite Wrestling debut. Do you agree with John Morrison? Do you think talent should be concerned that cuts could be coming up? Of course, as I mentioned previously, and we covered this in a previous video, WWE CEO and soon to be WWE President in the new co, Nick Khan, has said that cuts will occur, but stress that would mainly be on the business side of things. That would maybe employees at the headquarters, and it wouldn't be really hurting the production side of things or the talent, but some talent rightfully so, particularly the talent that have been brought in by Triple H over the course of the last year, and particularly those talents that aren't really doing all that much in terms of creative right now. They're concerned. Should they be concerned? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, when it comes to WWE, though, in terms of business at the moment, it's good to be WWE right now, between all of the sold-out shows on the horizon and the promotion set to rake in even more cash once its sale to Endeavor and subsequent merger with UFC is completed. But as the unmade sequel to Spaceballs, known as Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, reveals, the only thing better than having a lot of cash is even more cash. That's certainly the philosophy of WWE CEO and future President Nick Khan. He spoke at the first day of the CAA World Congress of Sports on Tuesday, and his comments, captured by Sports Business Journal, gave some insight into his view on WWE's current media rights deals with USA Network for Raw and Fox, for USA Network for Raw, and as I mentioned, for Fox on SmackDown. Quote, "Raw is the highest rated show on USA times 3, Khan said. Our belief is USA wants to keep it that way. For Fox, they want more live. They want more scripted TV. You saw what they did with the Big Ten. We think those are good indicators for us." Khan also noted how 40% of WWE's viewership comes from women, which could potentially open more doors to sales and sponsorship opportunities for the company going forward. That is definitely an area that Khan sees as one where WWE can show improvement, even if WWE just drew a record $20 million in sponsorship money from the 2 nights of WrestleMania 39 weeks ago. Quote, "Our sales and sponsorship numbers should be far bigger than what they are," Khan said. So if you saw all of that sponsorship stuff going on at WrestleMania, expect to get much more in the future, according to Nick Khan. Now, one of the biggest rumors and reports and speculatory facts going into WrestleMania was, is Stone Cold Steve Austin going to wrestle? Of course, he did not, but Stone Cold Steve Austin has explained why he didn't wrestle at WrestleMania 39, confirming that at one point he was in talks about potentially competing. Following Austin's return to the ring at WrestleMania 38, it was heavily speculated that the Texas Rattlesnake would be competing at this year's show of shows. Speaking with Sports Illustrated, Austin confirmed that he met with WWE representatives about a possible match at WrestleMania 39. Explaining why it didn't come to fruition, Austin said, quote, "I haven't spoken to this, but I'll give you the story. I met with some people from WWE. We talked about the possibility of me wrestling at WrestleMania 39. The biggest thing in my mind was the presentation and what kind of match it was going to be. Going back to 38, the way the KO thing was presented, I love KO. I turned that down 3, 4, 5 times until the creative finally came to what it ended up being. I didn't want it constructed as a real match per se. I needed something that could turn into one, and it did. But I think that's why we got away with it. The Dallas crowd was very receptive. I hadn't been around, so the timing was right. But to do a proper match, I'd have to be in off-the-chart shape. I told them, and this is the exact truth, I said, guys, I'm just fixing to go into production on this show, Stone Cold Takes on America, and until we start production, I don't know what my life looks like. I can't commit. Sure enough, there were technical issues before we finished. I was supposed to finish a month before we did. There's no way with the schedule I was doing, driving an RV all over God's creation, doing all I was doing, that I would be ready. I had two 30-pound dumbbells, a 45-pound sandbag, and a 25-pound kettlebell, working 15 hours a day, then getting in a 30 or 40-minute workout. That doesn't get you ready for WrestleMania. And I was really protected at WrestleMania 38. This time, that wasn't going to be the case. That was a true statement. Until the show was over, I couldn't commit. So Austin basically saying, look, he's not ruling out stuff for the future. He's saying, look, I was going into production. I didn't know when the show was going to finish. I'm not sure I could get myself in the shape required, necessary to compete at WrestleMania. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's accurate? Let me know your thoughts about that. Now, while speaking with Sports Illustrated, he did continue talking about this year's WrestleMania, and he also spoke about the controversial finish to the Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes match, which even now, weeks removed from the event, is still polarizing the WWE fan base. Austin 316 says the controversial finish to WrestleMania 39 was, quote, definitely the right call. While speaking with Sports Illustrated, Stone Cold Steve Austin shared his thoughts about the divisive end to WrestleMania 39, which saw undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns successfully defend his titles against Cody Rhodes after Bloodline member Solo Sikoa interfered while the referee was distracted. The finish, which wasn't expected and shocked many, left the professional wrestling world debating whether WWE had made the right call in keeping the titles on Reigns, who is closing in on 1,000 days as Universal Champion. Quote, to me, they got it just right, Austin declared. I loved the finish. I loved all of it. Roman is so good right now. The story was there. Cody coming back from injury, coming back into the fold after he left from AEW and putting himself in the position he's in now, overcoming all this adversity as part one of the most famous wrestling families that's ever been in the business and trying to finish the story against Roman. Austin continued, I watched both nights of WrestleMania 39 very intently. To me, you can't take the belt off Roman right now. You want to get it to Cody somehow, some way, sometime, but now's not the time. Austin said he texted a couple of people who were involved in the match to tell them it was magnificent. They built it perfectly, he said. I told my wife, I think they're going 30 minutes. They ended up going just over 34, and it was a classic. I loved it, and I wouldn't have changed a thing. So Austin, very complimentary, not only about the match itself, but also about the booking. Some interesting stats when it comes to Monday Night Raw and its audience right now. WWE has experienced a major audience shift that hasn't been seen in televised wrestling for about 4 years, which is absolutely fascinating. Dave Meltzer addressed the change on the recent Wrestling Observer radio show, focusing on the viewing audience for Monday Night Raw. Looking at beyond week-by-week numbers, Meltzer stated, quote, when you look at year to year, Raw was up 10% in viewers, 22% in 18 to 49, and 34% in 18 to 34. This is from the same week last year, going against similar competition, big competition last year as well. It shows not only how much hotter it is, but when you notice that the younger the viewer, the bigger the increase from last year, basically tells you that they are attracting a younger audience, a significantly younger audience than they were, to the point that Raw this past week was actually the youngest pro wrestling television show of the week. There has not been a week that's the case since the start of AEW in 2019. The basic example is that WWE is hot, It's hot with younger viewers. This is not a one-off. This has been building for a year now, really, but really hitting big in the last couple of months. So certainly it's fascinating that Raw had one of the oldest audiences. I think NXT had the oldest audience, but certainly Raw, a show that many declared dead, now has the youngest audience, and year over year it's up by something like 10%. It would appear that whatever Triple H is doing in creative, and maybe this is why Vince McMahon's kind of stepped back a little bit after the Raw after WrestleMania, because whatever he's doing, it's working big time. Now, let's compare that to what's going on with NXT and their audience at the moment. This is quite fascinating. According to WrestleNomics and Showbuzz Daily, the audience for the April 18 episode of NXT averaged 565,000 viewers, with approximately 183,000 in the 18 to 49 demographic. That's about a 0.14 rating. This was, as reported by Post Wrestling, the highest number since March 28, and a 7% increase in viewership, and with a 7% increase in viewership and an 8% increase in the 18 to 49 demographic. Within that demographic, it was reported that the female audience grew by 46% from the April 11 episode and was the largest audience in that demographic since November 15, 2022. By contrast, the male viewership is reported to have dropped by 10% this week within the same demographic. Exploring the 18 to 49 demographic further, Post Wrestling notes that the 18 to 34 demo dropped by 5%, while the 35 to 49 demo increased by 19%. Adult viewers aged over 50 remained identical to the April 11 episode. The episode was rated number 17 among cable original broadcasts and ranked number 9 in the time slot. The time slot was led by the NBA playoffs and featured multiple NHL playoff games as competition. As Post Wrestling notes, quote, NXT aired against the New York Knicks versus Cleveland Cavaliers, which averaged 2.7 million viewers and a 0.99 in the demo on TNT, as well as the Atlanta Hawks versus Boston Celtics that did 520,000 and a 0.18 on NBA TV. The NHL playoffs airing head-to-head with NXT included the New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils, 775,000 and a 0.23 on TBS, and the Tampa Bay Lightning versus Toronto Maple Leafs, 715,000 and a 0.23 on ESPN. So again, fascinating insight into the NXT viewership. What do you make of that, and what do you make of Raw really significantly improving year over year? Now, a bit of an update when it comes to Bobby Roode. Robert Roode, Bobby Roode, whatever you want to call him, hasn't wrestled since June 2022 and was last seen facing Amos at a WWE house show. Roode had his C5 and C6 vertebrae fused in late 2022 with a post on Instagram confirming the news to his fans. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has now provided an update on the timetable of Robert Roode's return, saying, quote, for those asking about Bobby Roode, he's been sidelined for a year, but didn't get his fusion until late last year. He's still expected to be out for quite some time. So if you are a fan of Robert Roode, unfortunately, looks like he's not going to be returning anytime soon. Of course, Roode joined WWE in 2016, becoming NXT champion on the Black and Gold brand before moving to the main roster and teaming with Chad Gable and before his injury, Dolph Ziggler. During his time in WWE, he's been a United States champion, a SmackDown Tag Team champion, and a two-time Raw Tag Team champion. There appeared to be promising signs a few months ago as Roode was featured in a World Cup themed WWE photo shoot, and he was backstage at a couple of episodes of SmackDown, but that was before he underwent the surgery. So the speculation at the time was that maybe he was rehabbing his neck injury and trying to avoid the surgery at all costs, and then it became apparent that that was the only thing that he could do, and indeed he had to get that fusion surgery. So Robert Roode is still out of action for quite some time. An update on Von Wagner. Now, following an unexpected character change on NXT, it's been reported that Von Wagner, when you say V and W, you always want to change the W to a V. He could, in the eyes of WWE, maybe in the future be seen as a WrestleMania main eventer. Now, it must be said, this is somewhat of a misleading headline from what I've seen on social media and on certain websites, because it's what Dave Meltzer is saying. Now, Dave Meltzer has provided further insight into what WWE hopes for Von Wagner, not their plans for him. Meltzer said, quote, he's tall, he's got blonde hair, they want him to main event WrestleMania, but you need charisma to go to that level. Now, obviously, people took that as, what? WWE thinks that Von Wagner should be main eventing WrestleMania? No, that's in that's the hope, that's the future. But as Meltzer says, you've got to get charisma to get to that level. So I think that one's been taken quite a lot out of context, it must be said. This is quite a funny story, actually. During her promo on Monday Night Raw, Trish Stratus would not only address her shocking attack on Becky Lynch and Lita, but also call for her influence on the women's wrestling division to be properly acknowledged. While she may not get what she wishes from Lynch and Lita in particular, there is one WWE star that would seemingly have no problem in doing so, that being the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. The WWE and BT Sport Twitter account tweeted a throwback picture of Reigns with his very own cardboard cutout of the 7-time Women's Champion. Alongside the picture was a quote from Trish's Raw promo where she would state that she was not a nostalgia act or anyone's childhood fantasy. Trish would then reply, acknowledging Reigns' clear past fascination with her, saying, quote, "At least Roman Reigns acknowledges me." So I think most people at that age maybe had a Trish cutout or something like that. Finally, we've heard the story that WWE wrestlers are about to return to Twitch in a great bit of news. It was recently reported that WWE had inked a new deal with Twitch, allowing its stars to return to the streaming platform. As per the previous report, WWE and Twitch reached an agreement to allow WWE stars back onto Twitch with almost no restrictions. It was also reported that the revenue would be a three-way split between WWE, Twitch, and the talent, with the latter two taking the majority. Further details have now emerged, clarifying the arrangement and split between all three parties. Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer reported, quote, "It is confirmed through talent that WWE's Twitch cut is from the Twitch side, not the talent side." Andrew Zarian of the Wrestling Observer provided additional details, writing, quote, "Spoke to a source regarding the Twitch deal with WWE. According to them, WWE execs negotiated for talent to get a larger cut than other creators on the platform. This was described to me as a very talent-friendly deal." With the report that WWE cut comes from the Twitch side and isn't taken from talent earnings, it would certainly appear it is a very talent-friendly deal. It was also reported by Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select that the WWE split of the new Twitch deal is very low in the single figures. So certainly, this would appear that the talent that are going to be streaming on Twitch get good money, and rightfully so. So that is excellent news, certainly. So there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember, you can join the WN365 roster by clicking that join button, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.